Let's talk about it. Ruby Frank and Jodie Hilderbendt from 8 Passengers on YouTube, guys. These two ladies seemingly was so sweet and innocent. They was talking about marriage, parenting skills, life skills, but the whole entire time, these people was devils in disguise. Let's get into it.
On the address of your emergency. Okay, and the phone number you're calling from. Tell me exactly what's happened.
I just had a 12-year-old boy show up here at my front door asking for help. Said he just came from a neighbor's house, and we know there's been problems at this neighbor's house. He's emaciated, he's got tape around his legs, he's hungry, and he's thirsty. And he asked us to call the police. So he's very afraid. Okay, this boy has been... This kid has obviously been... He's been detained. He's obviously covered in wounds.
Are the neighbors out of their home, or is anybody looking for them that you can see?
I'm not sure. How did you get out of the house? He says he just left through the porch at the neighbor's house. Her name is Jodie Hilderbendt. Very thirsty and...
Need an ambulance?
I don't think he needs an ambulance. I'll let the cops decide that, but his ankles are taped up and he won't tell us why.
Okay.
But he has duct taped around each ankle. Yeah, there's sores around them. I think there's a good chance he's been... and he has them around his ankles. I mean his wrists as well.
Okay. Let's get the paramedics headed over that way, okay?
With my deepest regret and sorrow for my family and my children.
Ruby Frank and her partner, Jodie Hilderbendt, ended up pleading guilty to all counts of child neglect after Ruby Frank's son broke out of Jodie Hildebendt's window and ran next door to a neighbor's house to get help because him and his 10-year-old sister were being held captive in Hildebendt's home. They were being tied up. They were not eating. They said that when the little boy came to the neighbor's home, he was so thirsty. The first thing he was asking for was something to drink. The neighbor said there's visible signs of abuse. He's had ligature marks around his wrist and his feet. So this has been going on for a long time, guys. And Ruby Frank, also, she's known for doing, having a YouTube channel called 8 Passengers where she talks about marriage and life skills and parenting. And she's so big on parenting. Well, when I went back and looked at those videos, how could you not see that those kids was being abused when she clearly said they were being abused? She clearly was saying that her kids were being abused. She even had one video clipped as long to say her daughter, her 6-year-old daughter at the time, her daughter was 6, and she left her lunch at home. And she said, and the school was calling, and the school said, can you please bring your daughter something to eat? And this woman had the audacity on live and say, I hope nobody feeds her. I hope she starves because that way she can learn the responsibility of not forgetting her lunch, to make her lunch every morning to take to school. I'm not bringing her no lunch. I hope nobody gives her no lunch money. Do what? Real crazy. And then on the other hand, across what they say about 4 hours away at another business partner house, Pam Bendit, I believe that's how you say her last name, had her oldest 2 daughters at her house, basically using them as slaves. She had, and this was all in the court documents. She had her other 2 kids' house, other 2 daughters at her other business partner's house way across town, and she was using them as slaves. They were slaves. They were doing whatever she wanted her to do, any work, anything. She was using them as slaves. And the police only found that out when they went looking, serving the warrants to them. When they went to go serve the warrants to them, they couldn't find Jodie or Ruby. So they ended up kicking down Ruby's house door nobody was there, they ended up finding Jodie and Ruby about 4 hours away from where they actually lived at. But when they went to the other business partner's house while looking for Ruby and Jodie, that's when they found the 2 other daughters. But they wasn't just there for the daughters, even though they didn't know that they were there. They actually came not just looking for Jodie and Ruby, but to lock up the other business partner, Pam, because she also had something to do with the child abuse neglect. As you can see, she held her other 2 kids hostage. She was holding them hostage too. They were not free to leave. That's a hostage. They were not free to leave. They were being held against their will. They were being made to do things. So these 2 people ended up having their hearing February the 22nd, 2024. Let's check it out.
And parole. She committed horrible acts of child abuse. From May to August in 2023, Ms. Franke and her business partner held her 2 children, ages 9 and 11, turning 12, in a concentration camp-like setting. The children were regularly denied food, water, beds to sleep in, and virtually all forms of entertainment. They were isolated from others and were hidden when people came to visit the house where the children and the defendants were staying. The children were forced to do physical tasks like carrying loaded boxes up and down stairs and wall sits or sitting against a wall without a chair or a stool for hours at a time. They were also forced to do manual labor outdoors in the extreme summer heat, at times without shoes or socks. They were forced to stand outside on a cement patio in the summer heat for hours and even days at a time. They were beaten, and the 12-year-old was regularly bound hand and foot after he attempted to run away in mid-July. Both children had extensive physical injuries from the abuse that required hospitalization when they were found. The injuries from the binding to the 12-year-old are particularly awful. In addition to physical abuse, the children were emotionally abused to the extent that each believed, to some degree, that they deserved what was being done to them. Had the older of the children not had the courage to run away and ask a neighbor to call the police, heaven only knows how much longer he could have survived in that situation. After being caught, Ms. Franke has shown considerable remorse, as evidenced by agreeing to serve consecutive prison terms and being willing to cooperate with the state against Ms. Hildebrand. However, given the severity of the abuse she inflicted, consecutive terms are appropriate in this case. As the court's aware, Section 76-3401 lays out factors the court takes into account in determining whether consecutive or concurrent sentences should be imposed. Those factors are the gravity and circumstances of the offense, the number of victims, and the history, character, and rehabilitative needs of the defendant. As agreed to in the plea agreement and as recommended by adult probation and parole, consecutive sentences are appropriate. This is due to the severity of the abuse to both victims. It could be argued that Ms. Franke should receive a lesser sentence than Ms. Hildebrand because of her remorse and willingness to cooperate.
4 to 30 years, everybody. 4 to 30 years. Guess that floral dress did her some justice, huh? Anyways, y'all. This right here, this case, and it's still a lot of stuff that is still coming out that we really didn't know. They really didn't start releasing the court documents until afterwards. I mean, we did see certain stuff that was said, but the stuff that she actually, like the in-depth detail, is what's really coming out now. So we gonna continue this because I just really want to know, how long have they been? You couldn't have just woke up and said, you know, I'm gonna abuse my children today. Like, she had to already been this type of person. I mean, obviously, you see the husband ran and he got away. said he hasn't been in contact with his own wife in over 1.5 years or been living at the house. And also hasn't had no contact with his own children. So something right there wasn't right either. I just feel like obviously you ran, so you should have ran and took your children and protected them too. But anyways, y'all check out these clips down below and y'all tell me what y'all think.
Gosh, you guys, having kids is so much fun. We are literally starving. I hesitate to say this because it's going to sound like I'm like a mean barbarian, but I told the kids, I said, I'm not even going to let you eat breakfast until you get your chores done.
This is my motivating drive for creating this content. I was a hugely disconnected, selfish, aggressive, neglectful mother.
Yeah. The bedroom was taken away for 7 months and then you give it back like a couple weeks ago.
I don't think our viewers know that.
Came back since October and they gave my room back like 2 weeks ago.
Hopefully nobody gives her food and nobody steps in and gives her a lunch.